Okay, given the system of equations below, this is 3-2, the ACP mixed review, and this problem here is very similar to one of the problems that y'all completely missed on the test itself. So let's take a look. All I did was change these signs right here. Well, let's see what happens. Here we have y is less than 4/3 x plus 3, and wait a second, positive 3 is 1, 2, 3. If I extend that line right there, well, you know what? I know that this line must be this red line, or now orange, right there. Now notice it says y is less than or equal, so we're going to shade everything right here. Now what does this do? This automatically makes it that our answer is going to have to be either region 3 or region 4. We know we can cross out regions 1 or regions 2. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to take a look at our second equation. Notice that's going to be this line right here. And we'll say, you know what, well 3x minus 7y is, less than 8. And we want to get the letter y by itself. A lot of y'all are still a little bit confused as to why, no pun intended, but it's because we want these things in the form of y equals mx plus b, so we can find our slope and our y-intercept. Of course, to get rid of a positive 3x, we will subtract 3x minus 3x, and now we have negative 7y is less than negative 3x plus 8. Now from here we know we want to divide everything by negative 7. And let's do this. Wait a second. What happens when you divide by a negative number? Your inequality has to flip. So instead of being less than, it will become greater than. And we can simply write this as 3 over 7x, because a negative divided by negative is a positive, minus 8 over 7. Now none of this actually matters. The only thing that matters is that we're going to shade above this line. And so when I start shading above this purple line, well, I know that the only place where my overlapping regions are is region 3. So the answer to this problem will in fact be region 3. Alright, let's move on to our next example. Okay, let's take a look at example 17. Now it says simplify the following expression, and notice here we are finally multiplying by our variables. Well, let's do this in parts. Normal numbers behave normally. 4 times 6 will be at 24a, and of course when we multiply variables we know that we have to add the exponents. 2 plus 5 will give us a to the 7. Plus, here we do 4 times 5, 20, and a to the 2 plus 3 will be a to the 5. Here we do 4 times negative 3, or aka negative 12, a to the 2 plus 2, a to the 4. And lastly, y'all, 4a squared times 12 will be plus 48. 4 times 12 is 48. 48a squared. Since there's no a terms here, we just tack our a squared on like this. Now, of course, you look and you try to find any like terms, but since this is an a to the 7, a to the 5, a to the 4, a to the 2, we know these are all distinct terms. They cannot be combined. And here is your answer. Alright, let's move on to our next example. Okay, number 18 says this. Write the following quadratic in vertex form. Well, of course, we know that this 4, actually 4 is a perfect square, but it's not a perfect square that can interact with negative 6. So let's go ahead and do this. We'll say h of x is equal to x squared minus 6x. We'll leave a space there, plus 4. Now remember, what we have to do is we have to create our own perfect square, and in this case we use the formula b over 2 squared. And guys, I cannot stress this enough. You have to memorize. You have got to memorize that. So our b term is clearly negative 6 over 2 squared. We know negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3, and negative 3 squared is going to be 9. Guys, do not ever forget, when you square something, it will always be positive. So we can write plus 9. Now, where's the problem? We are not adding positive 9 to the left side. We're not going to balance it that way. We're going to balance this by adding a negative 9 off to the right. So remember, if we add a positive 9 here in this parentheses, we also must add a negative 9. Now, of course, this is going to lead us to this. H of x is equal to parentheses x, And notice you're asking yourself what two numbers will add up to be -6 and multiply to be +9. Well, of course, it's always going to be half. It's always going to be half of our b term, so -3. And remember, it's x minus 3 times x minus 3. Now, of course, 4 minus 9 will give us -5. One final step. Remember, we never write it like this. We say x minus 3, x minus 3. We can consolidate that, since it's there twice, as to x minus 3 squared minus 5. I'll say that one more time. Since it's there twice, we just write it as a square. Okay, let's move on to example number 19. Okay, for problem number 19, it says, which of the following is a factor to x squared plus 18x plus 80? Well, guys, this is very simple. We know we're just going to simply break it up into x squared breaks down into x, and you were saying, hey, you know what? Our c term is 80. What are all the numbers that multiply to be 80? Well, there's 1 and 80. There's 2 and 40. There is, let's see, there's 4 and 10. And you know what? I could even think of 5 and, oh gosh, what would it be? 5 and not 13, 14? Oh, you know, let's say 5 and 16. Okay. Now let's just stop right there and let's see if our pair that we want is actually there. Remember, we are looking for the pair that adds up to be 18. Oh, and I made one little mistake, my bad. 4 times 10 is 40. We wanted 8 times 10. Okay. Now let's go ahead and add these. 1 plus 80 is 81. Let's see. Nope. 2 plus 40 is going to equal to 80. I'm sorry. Whoa. Man, you can tell it's late. 2 plus 40 is 42. Nope. And here we go. 8 plus 10 will, of course, be 18. Notice that's why Mr. Hastings caught his mistake. I was like, wait a second. I know these are the ones that work out. Well, that means we'll write this as x plus 8 and x plus 10. And now whichever factor is in the answer choices, that must be your correct answer. Moving on. Okay, y'all. Number 20. What is the solution to the problem below? And you might be thinking, whoa, mister, I've never seen anything like this. Well, let's take it step by step. Thing number 1, we always want to get rid of our subtraction or our addition. And hopefully, you're like, well, wait a second, Mr. Hastings, I see some subtraction there. So we'll get rid of our minus 16 by adding 16 to both sides. 8 plus 16 is 24, is equal to 6 square roots of x minus 4. Now, guys, remember, anytime two things are side by side, they're being multiplied, and so we'll divide both sides by 6, and 24 divided by 6 will be 4, is equal to the square root of x minus 4. Now, if you got this far, this is where I would contend a lot of you are going to struggle, except for you got to understand that the opposite of a square root is a square, and so all we have to do is square both sides, and of course we get 4 squared is 16, is equal to, those cancel, x minus 4. Now, of course, from here, guys, all we have to do is add 4. We add 4, and 16 plus 4 will give us 20 is equal to x. And there you have it. All right, guys, I hope that y'all have enjoyed this lesson, and y'all have a wonderful day.